This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. I need to cover this story about a 30-minute city. That's right, a 30-minute city that is being built right outside of Sydney, Australia. It's important to know this because this is what's coming everywhere. People out there hear these smart cities. They've been programmed into wanting smart cities. We see them as futuristic cities in movies. These are enslavement camps. They are prison cities. They are going to market these things, because this is the dystopian society we're living in, as being free, as being clean energy, as being, oh, everything's within 30 minutes of each other. Now, they originally were calling these 15-minute cities, and I'm sure they'll be different ones. 30-minute city, 15-minute city. This might be based off of the size of this city, where they literally have a 30-minute city where things are on the outside, on the outcusp, and everybody's jammed in together. But it also could be because of so many people catching on to what 15-minute cities are. Now, here's a clip I'll start with from the World Economic Forum where they describe to you what they want to do to you, which is enslave you in these cities. And of course, they try to make it sound like, hey, you won't need a car, you won't need to do any of this stuff because everything will be within walking distance and it'll be great for the environment and you'll be like a prisoner going out to the prison yard. Listen to this scumbag.
For policies really to change the rules of the game, no? So that sustainability becomes the easier choice, not just for the people, but also for the companies, no? So I think an important measure in Switzerland was to have support for renewable energy, for energy efficiency, but also then changing the way districts work. For instance, in Zurich, we have a lot of districts where you actually don't need a car because all the activities, school, buying something, everything you can do in walking distance, And by doing that, people don't buy a car. And it's not felt like actually they would like to have a car and they are not allowed to have it, but they simply don't need it because the environment was built in a way that they don't need it. And I think this is what policy needs to do. They have to change the environment. So a sustainable lifestyle, a lifestyle in harmony with nature is the easiest way to go. And also for the companies. And here perhaps a last point. I really like what you said on following through. We had all these nice commitments. We had the Paris Agreement. We also here at World Economic Forum have every year very nice commitments. What's important is really to follow through.
And again, another thing they're trying to do before I get into the story, I'll explain smart cities in better detail, but I'm sure the majority of you already understand. So in a smart city, your carbon footprint is what's going to be, or, allowance, everything's going to be based off the carbon footprint. Okay. You're not going to be able to go outside for X amount of time. You're not going to be able to drive anywhere. And if you do, everything will be on electric vehicles, monorails. Most of these cities will not have cars. They'll be telling you that it's better to bike ride. Everyone will be like, oh, we're physically fit. Everything's great. It's literally like this dystopia they show us in a lot of the movies, where everybody you see, all the characters are living in oblivion. They're completely clueless and they're smiling as they get tasered in the throat. That's pretty much what a smart city is going to be like. It's going to look all futuristic and people are going to drool over it and they're going to tell you that, hey, it's a better life, things are cheaper, things are better. And these people will just go along with it without ever asking why life is so difficult right now, why things are so expensive right now, because they're pushing you into this. They're doing all of the things to us by design. They're dividing us. They're enslaving us with technology. They're getting us used to technology. They're getting us dependent on technology. They're getting us more and more cold of one another. Humans are growing cold and angry at one another. That's perfect for the setup of getting people into these smart cities where they'll literally be working, eating, doing everything inside of their little prison cell, which they'll call, your cubicle home, where you'll have your office in one space and you'll have your bed in the other, and it'll look just like a prison cell, but you'll be under the illusion that you're free. And they've been putting out propaganda. They've been putting things out trying to explain the smart cities to you because they're trying to pop them up all over the place. Now, we know what happened in Lahaina. We know what's happening in Chile. They're going to reword these things. And don't forget about the line that I've covered in Saudi Arabia, which I'll continue to cover. Because when I first covered the line, all my videos on the line are now gone. They're on the website. But they're all gone because all the channels are gone. Okay? People were saying, oh, this is just a theory. They're never going to build this. This is just some type of exciting, idea that they're making for people like you to try to troll you, etc. No. They've begun production on the line. And then the next thing they need to do is use propaganda to get you to go there. In the middle of the desert, they're going to tell you and build this up like it's a resort. It's going to be nice in the eyes. You're going to think that it's you're free and everything's cheap and you're going to be so excited, but you're going to be miserable on the inside. That's, again, part of the predictive programming they show us with this futuristic society. No one's fulfilled. They don't realize that they're actually prisoners. They're on autopilot. We're heading towards that. So here's just some clips about these smart cities. Then we'll get into the one in Australia. So you have a better idea of what they're trying to push on people, how they're trying to spin this for anyone out there that says it's a conspiracy to try to say that it's propaganda because these are going to be wonderful and great for everybody. They're not slaveman cities. They're not. They're just great for all of us. They're going to be great. It's going to be a surveillance state, just what we all need.
What is a 15-minute city and why are conspiracy theorists jumping on it? You may have seen this, a vision of what the future of the world's big cities might look like. But some on TikTok aren't happy.
You won't be able to do that.
Spoiler, they've got nothing to worry about. 15-minute cities are basically where bigger cities are divided up into smaller sections or neighbourhoods. This man came up with the idea. It means everything people need, like shops, gyms and bars, are all within a 15-minute walk or cycle. With town planners making places better to live in, they'll reduce carbon emissions with fewer people needing to use their cars, in turn improving people's health. Parts of London, as well as Paris and Cleveland in the US, are looking at adopting them, while Melbourne and Copenhagen have both started something similar. But conspiracy theorists are saying this is a government's plot to put us all back into lockdown. That's not true. Oxfordshire County Council recently received abuse for their plan and had to issue this statement after some, including Katie Hopkins, said things like this.
You will only have 15 minutes of freedom. This is real.
We know that's not the case. There are some legitimate criticisms, though, about whether getting rid of cars would really work and whether people might mix less with those living elsewhere. But if it's better for the planet and makes life more convenient, could people get on board with a 15-minute city?
Mayor Bibb introduced the idea of being the first 15-minute city in the United States. He did this in his State of the City address last night.
The urban planning model is new, but city planners told our Sarah Shookman the time is now to tap into federal dollars to address some of Cleveland's deeper problems.
Imagine a Cleveland where everything you need is less than 15 minutes away.
It's this ideal planning framework where human needs and desires are accessible within a 15-minute walk, bicycle ride, or transit trip. And that's really what we're striving for in this new planning model.
City planner Matt Moss says it doesn't have to be a dream. Instead of a concrete jungle where people work and separate places where people live, in a 15-minute city, everything is closer.
It's starting out with the city we have now, and then asking residents how they might want their community to grow or change in ways that, again, make things more accessible or provide them with more opportunities to access the things they want to get to in their day-to-day lives.
First, planners are making a list of what's there, things like grocery stores, parks, schools, but also workplaces. In some neighborhoods, it's more quality that's lacking due to busted sidewalks or lack of bike lanes or bus stops. In others, whether it's green space or food justice, they're lacking altogether.
The problem isn't that we just don't have a store. It's sort of like, well, why don't we have a store? And we need to dig under and get at the roots of that problem.
Case Western professor Darcy Friedman directs the Swetland Center for Environmental Health. Her research has shown addressing nutrition equity can start a strategy of change.
Because unless people have the ability to eat a healthy, nutritious meal every day, I don't know how we can talk about people being prepared to, go into our education systems or get the best job available for them.
Along with building, the city says changes to zoning restrictions and development incentives are likely necessary. Friedman urges community members to make sure they're at the table.
Not just asking, demanding to say, where is the space for us to inform what this looks like?
Those opportunities for participation are coming, the city says, noting that the payoff here is a greener, more sustainable city with more solidarity between neighbors. But let's be real, this change will not happen overnight. Laura, city planners say the timing is right, though, with funding from federal infrastructure bill and some other sources, and we will keep you updated as to how we can all weigh in.
Okay, so this is what's coming. And Sydney is getting a brand new 30-minute city with car-free streets. And they are, this is from the Daily Mail and other publications in Australia are talking about. Australia's newest city has set high expectations, promising to be greener and more sustainable while promoting car-free streets and quick access to facilities. Bradfield City is being built next to Western Sydney Airport. at Badgerys Creek, with the first buildings to be ready by the time the airport opens in 2026. Planning documents state the entire Aerotropolis will sit on more than 11,000 acres. It goes on to say Bradfield City will be a 30-minute city, meaning residents will be able to jump on public transportation and access all CBD amenities from their home within half an hour. Of course, that sounds like a perfectly normal thing, the way that they word it right there, right? Oh, you know, a city where things are within 30 minutes, public transportation is not going to be what public transportation is now. Okay? Everything's going to be, they fail to mention these things, okay? Your home is not going to be the home you have now. Okay, your home inside of the city is going to be a prison cell. Your public transportation isn't going to be your car, okay? It's going to be what they lock you in on and take you to these specific places at allocated times. The thing that they just did with the outbreak, do you remember some of the things that they did where you had to make appointments for the most ridiculous things? I mean, I heard people saying they had to make appointments to go to the grocery and things like that. That's how this system's going to run. You're going to have allocated time to go and do chores. These are things they leave out. But once you get in there and say, well, that's how we keep it flowing smoothly. That's how, we make it so accessible so you don't have to wait in line and this and that. And then they'll just nod their head, smile, and go along with it, not realize that they're prisoners. Because none of these people are going to realize they're prisoners until it's too late. Because once you're in these smart cities, you ain't getting out. Once you give up your guns, you ain't getting them back. Okay? Once you give up your rights to free speech, you ain't getting that back either. Unless, of course, you fight for it, like people like me are trying to do. So the city will be built as the state government looks to fulfill its ambitious 3-city strategy in Sydney. The plan is aimed at decentralizing work, shopping, and leisure activities into regional areas and reduce car use and travel times for residents. Okay, you're starting to see this. You're starting to get it. They'll market it to you like everything is within walking distance. That's great. You don't have to travel further. Good for the environment. You ain't leaving these smart cities. You might as well be in a dome. And that's what a lot of the predictive programming is about domes. We see all this stuff with domes. I know people talk about the shape of the earth and that's what they're referencing. Very well could be so. But what they're really telling you is that you're literally going to be in these cities and you're going to be trapped in these cities. There's going to be borders on these cities. You aren't leaving these cities. Now, you might be allocated time to leave for one day a year to go visit grandma when she's dying and things like that, but you're not going to have freedom anymore. And in the beginning, you're going to think you still have freedom because you're going to be allowed to do things minimally, but they'll say, well, you can still do it, but you're being a good person. And eventually, you ain't going to be doing nothing because they're going to say, well, it's gotten worse. Things have gotten worse and they've gotten worse. Now we need to take that away. Now we need to take away your little adventure that you go on once a year. And you're going to go, oh, okay, because you're not going to have any rights anymore because you're submitting to this. So Bradfield City will have a central park to add to the vegetation. Give me a break. A pool to add to the vegetation throughout the area. A pool near natural wetlands and a green loop for active transport. Are they going to have an area where they can whip you too? You're going to have like an open courtyard where they whip all the people who disobey, or anybody who says that they're not loving being slaved in these cities. For anybody that wakes up when they're in the city, and they can have a little area where they beat you down in front of everyone to set an example. I'm sure they will. How dare you question? And all the mind controlled, completely brain dead communist soldiers will say, hey, yeah, how dare you disagree with this? They've saved our lives by bringing us here, even though they're the ones who are ruining our lives and tormenting all of us and giving people depression and anxiety and making it impossible for people to live, to even pay for food for their families. And yet the civilians do nothing and think that these people, the ones who are doing it, are the ones who are going to save them too. That's the scary irony of it. So it goes on to talk about it'll be one of the biggest urban developments ever undertaken in Australia and the first major city to be built in over 100 years. Attracting high-tech industry will be vital to the ambitious promise of creating 200,000 jobs, with publicly funded science organization CSIRO already committing to a facility. Of course, that's another way they trick you with jobs. Which jobs? Any jobs that you really want? I'm sure they'll have you some pointless job where you're literally a rat inside of a wheel. And these people will do that. They'll say, hey, go stand in here and run endlessly in a circle. And they'll say, what am I doing it for? And they'll make up some bull crap and they'll be like, okay, I guess so. I mean, they could do anything to these people. And they will still think that they're doing something useful and productive because they'll empower them in their brains. Oh, you're doing great, right? Yeah, you're doing great. Keep castrating yourself or keep bouncing your head off the wall. Am I doing good? Boing, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you're doing great. Now pound your head off the wall another half hour, okay? Okay, you're doing great. We're getting really good information watching you smash your head against the wall. We're really getting good data. So please keep doing it. Okay, boom, boom, boom. They'll just keep going. There is no brain activity going on in most of these people's minds. And anyone defending this and anyone thinks that the climate problem is real, they're so far gone with the propaganda that they're literally, they're living in an alternate reality, which I often say. So the time frame to get it all built up and running is tight, with the first buildings hoped to be ready in time for the airport in 2026. Like I said earlier, with the master plan, says that it's a 50-year time horizon for this complete city to come out of the ground. I think you'll find that it happens a whole lot quicker than based on absolute demand for it. And again, they need to destroy, these will be like pop-up city experiments, because again, they're going to use all this data to see how people are complying, what people are doing. Are people listening to some of the rules and the restrictions that are put in these cities, et cetera, et cetera. They do everything as a data poll. Okay, the thing they just did with the outbreak was really also a lot about data. They wanted to see how many people complied with their rules, how many people social distance, all that stuff. So they'll do experiments, but ultimately they're going to wipe out, like we're seeing at the same time as this, we're seeing places like California get wiped out, because they're going to have massive, massive new infrastructure cities that are going to be just like this. And they're going to tell you it's great for the climate. Oh, it was the climate that destroyed California in the first place. All these made up rivers coming out of the sky and all these bizarre storms that we've never seen before in human history. It was climate change. So now we're going to have a climate smart city. That way we'll never get hit with these types of storms again, because trust me, that's the way it's going. If you don't see it, you're not paying attention to it. So they're talking about it. This is going to be the future. They have a lot of these futuristic pictures, as you could see. They're going to use trigger words like community, okay? Community farms, outdoor entertainment space, right? You might as well have large prison walls surrounding the outdoor entertainment space. So these people won't see it. They aren't going to see it, because all they need is like the pharmaceutical ad commercials. Little background music that sounds wonderful while they're reading to you all the side effects of the drug. They're like, wow, I should get that pill for my ED or whatever the pill is, right? Oh, your heart condition, right? Might call, and then they're like, oh, and it's like, la, 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 la. Everyone's holding hands. They're on the beach. The wife and husband are kissing in the background. They're going, might cause brain tumors, might cause hemorrhaging. You might be dead in a week. Don't worry about it. La, 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 la. Same thing with the This is how it's all marketed to people, okay? So when they hear us talk about it, their brain's already programmed to say, we're crazy conspiracy nuts. And they can't process it, because the way it'll be marketed to them is that, it's imprisonment with a smile, and they'll all think that it's some type of freedom. And they're all so frustrated with the way the world is now that they'll want this. And they don't realize the ones who want you in these cities are the same ones who are ruining our everyday way of life right now. So keep an eye on these stories, again, with these smart cities. They're calling this one a 30-minute city as opposed to a 15-minute city. Same difference, right? You ain't getting out. There's only getting in, you ain't getting out. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you and your families, as always.